Hello again, I am Blunty, and this video is going to have two basic modes. I'm going to start out informative and thoughtful and considering, and then I'm going to switch into just ranty. There's something I've got to unload about, and it's made me So I hope you're ready for that gear switch to when I have to start tearing someone to absolute friggin' ribbons over just something astonishingly stupid. So, just before the weekend, there was some pretty big news around the Nintendo Switch 2 and its new clever trick of mouse mode Joy-Cons that dropped. And while it's all very cool, and something I had personally really wanted to happen and be confirmed, and even conjectured about in an earlier video, so, I was right again, more smug face, but it was one relatively small and simple detail that I didn't really think was chewy enough for a video all on its own, so I was going to just work it in alongside something else I've been planning to address. However, there are some really stupid hot takes going on around it that frustrate me to such an extent I just want to carve all this into the figurative stone of a video so you smarter people can hurl it at the faces of those you see not thinking this through properly. So the hot new feature I'm talking about is the fact that yes, we now have officially confirmed the Nintendo Switch 2 can use regular old USB mice, both corded and wireless ones, at least the wireless ones that come with their own dongles. Bluetooth is still an open question for mice, but most mice that use Bluetooth are kind of shitty office-style crap anyway, so you don't really want to use them for gaming. All the decent wireless gaming mice come with their own dongles, for very good reasons. Bonus points in the down below if you can articulate exactly what those reasons are. Now, like I said, this isn't earth-shattering news. We had expected it to come at some point. The OG Switch even supports USB mice, though less than, 3 dozen games actually use it, something in that order. But thanks to a Japanese language developer deep dive in Nombanga's Ambition Awakening Complete Edition, a game that I can't even pretend to care about, let alone say its name 3 times quickly, we did see them in live gameplay confirming compatibility with and indeed using a regular old USB mouse with the game. Alongside that, instead of doing this how older consoles would have, by pairing mouse functionality with a keyboard, using the same kinds of inputs and layouts a PC version of any given game would, here we can see them using it in combination with the Joy-Con, both the left one, just as you would if you were using the right one in its mouse mode, but also, even if you are using a dedicated mouse, the right Joy-Con still remains operational for additional button inputs, so that's cool. And that's actually one of the problems I originally raised when I was talking about using quote-unquote real mice with the Switch 2, because the standard layout these days of a gaming mouse has 7 discrete inputs aside from the pointer stuff. Left and right clicks, of course, up and down on the scroll wheel click, and 2 thumb buttons. While the Joy-Con, in addition to the mouse pointer input stuff, has twice as many discrete inputs, 14 or more depending on how you want to count the thumbstick, because you've got the plus button, the 4 face buttons, the shoulder button and trigger, at least the 4 cardinal directions on the thumbstick click, the home button and the C button. Take away the system functions for plus, home and C and you're still at 11 discrete inputs. So obviously there's some functional input issues with using a regular mouse for games that are really heavy on their inputs, but that will mostly be an edge case, I think. And something else I suggested was a brand creating a mouse with all the right Joy-Con inputs already on it, just in a mouse shell. Or indeed, simply adapting one of the few mice models already out there for PC use that do have extra buttons and even thumbsticks built into them. And on that topic, do make sure you are subscribed, because sometime this week I've got a 3D printer coming in for me to start testing, and you bet I will be trying out the homebrew Joy-Con mouse shells to see how they feel. Alongside a bunch of other off-the-shelf Switch 2 accessories, I already have a box with a little pile of those in. But yeah, all in all, nice news about the mouse function. However, I've been seeing a really stupid sentiment spreading around this news over the weekend, and I think I've found the original source that these dopes are parroting this hot take from. They saw this, they read this, and went, oh, I'm going to repeat that without even thinking about it. It's a Vice article, say what you will about them, written by someone who calls themselves a games journalist and has been doing that for about 15 years, but oh my god, they're stupid. Like, really not very smart. So, after a couple of paragraphs noting the bare minimum information about this with zero thought or insight at all. They go on to claim Joy-Con mouse mode could become pointless. Hear me out, they beg, knowing full well what they just said is stupid and will piss people off, but also simultaneously seemingly not comprehending why what they said is stupid and will piss people off. They just had a kind of gut feeling about it, I suppose. But they barrel on in their blinding ignorance anyway. If, they continue, a majority of Nintendo Switch 2 games end up supporting USB PC mice, then it kind of makes the feature obsolete. What? I mean, if you're going to be using a controller on a Surface anyway, why wouldn't you just use a PC mouse? Mate. Oh my God, you slowly melting pudding of a human mind. How do you function? Are you frequently confused by household objects like forks and spoons and shoelaces? The whole damn point of building in mouse functionality to the default in-box controllers, the Joy-Con, for the Switch 2 is so it will not go obsolete. That's why it's there. We've had mouse support in consoles as far back as the Super Nintendo, for crying out loud. The original Xbox had it. The PS3 had it. There were games that could use a mouse and keyboard just like you could on PC. The PlayStation 4, the Xbox 360. In fact, every PlayStation and Xbox since. And most gamers have no bloody idea about that, because it was not the default option. Developers had to choose to spend time putting that functionality in for a tiny, tiny fraction of users who would buy keyboards and mice to use on their PlayStations and Xboxes, and who would actually use it in the very few games that actually supported it. But with the Switch 2, it is a completely different beast, and I've gone on about this before. Every single developer now knows that 100% of the player base of the Switch 2 has a mouse. Two of them, in fact, because each Joy-Con has a mouse mode. It's built into the damn controllers. It doesn't rely on you having to have a separate device to plug in like the other consoles always did it. And that means it's no longer a super niche use case for a console game to have a mouse mode, which means even if a fraction of users choose to invest in a dedicated USB mouse of some kind to enjoy the improved ergonomics of a standard mouse shape as opposed to using the Joy-Con on its side, which is an imperfect solution. But at least according to those who have tried it, it works shockingly well. But because of this, you can never actually make the mouse mode on the Switch 2 obsolete, or make the Joy-Con functionality itself obsolete. It cannot be obsolete because it is literally core functionality. And unlike something like the IR sensor on the OG Switch's Joy-Con, this one has been a standard input option for PC gaming for at least 3 decades. It's not some weird goofy gimmick for party games, it is a standard input choice. How do you not get that, Vice writer, quote-unquote journalist? Oh, but you bet this Dingleberry doubles down on this moronic argument in the next paragraph. Nintendo is pushing the Joy-Con mouse mode pretty hard, so it wouldn't make sense to cannibalize it. What cannibalization, you moron? That's like arguing that the Pro Controller cannibalizes the Joy-Cons. The function is near identical, it's just an ergonomic choice, an accessory choice. It does the same thing as the Joy-Cons, but in most people's opinion, better, because it's more comfortable, especially if you've got big hands like me. Just like using a dedicated mouse will likely be more comfortable if you've got big hands like me. Or indeed have been playing mouse and keyboard games for more than 3 decades and are very, very, very used to that particular feel. That will obviously make using a real mouse a preference. So my theory is that USB mouse support will likely be featured in third-party titles, specifically PC ports of RTS games. Oh my god. The lack of imagination is horrifying. It's just for RTS games. Are you kidding me? Come on. But I won't lie, even using a PC mouse on Fortnite for Nintendo Switch 2 could be absolutely insane. The advantage some players would have over those using regular Joy-Cons would be ridiculous. Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't actually play Fortnite and haven't done it in a very long time, but isn't it already multi-platform? Aren't people already playing against mouse users? Like, on all the platforms? because it supports mouse input on all the platforms. The only difference is there'll be more Switch users being able to use the mouse input now because it's a default option. It in no way makes it obsolete. Yeah, dude, having more comfortable control options is a good thing, which is why people will use it, and rather more vitally in the argument we're making here, ask for it specifically from developers. To this point, players or potential players asking developers to support mouse mode on console games has been just a tiny whisper of a thing in the background. You see one or two people in the forums here and there when a new game's coming out. Oh, does this support mouse and keyboard? I don't like using controllers. But guess how loud and how frequent that is going to be from now on in, now that the Switch has a default mouse control. Every game that could potentially be useful with a mouse is going to have people asking the developers for it. If a majority of Nintendo Switch 2 games end up supporting the PC mouse, then it kind of makes the feature obsolete. That is officially the dumbest shit pie take I have seen around the Switch 2 all month. And it's been a hell of a month for stupid ass opinions for people who just say shit about the Switch 2 without ever engaging a single pair of neurons dedicated to the task of critical thinking. Hey guys, I got a hot take for you. Does plugging the Switch 2 into a TV make the screen on the device obsolete? They should just get rid of it. Why bother having a screen on there at all if some people are just going to plug it into a TV to play instead? Sweet, merciful Christmas. Come on. You got a lump of squishy stuff right between your ears. It's useful to use it when you're saying stuff in public to people and you're calling yourself a journalist. Are you kidding me with this? Thanks for listening. I'm going to spend about 15 minutes now with my head on my desk, hoping, very desperately, this idiot's words somehow leak out of my ear, and I never have to think about them ever again. Thanks, patrons. Your above and beyond support is wonderful, as always. Thank you to the rest of you for listening. I am Blunty, and I will catch you next time.
Saburo Arasaka, the poor chap, world's most powerful, turned into a commercial hack.
Surprised. He's a symbol, an icon.
Even in death, his net worth increased.